The new year is right around the corner, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm sure we all have our own personal aspirations and wishes and goals that we have set out for 2024 right around the corner. Always blows our mind how fast time flies, and we got to do our yearly tradition of doing our wish list for Galaxy of Heroes coming into the new year. And I've been doing this running joke every year. I keep recycling the same thumbnail, more or less. Death Star Raid 2024, could it happen? I don't know. There's been some mildly promising stuff. Since last year, we made a list. One thing came to fruition, at least. Mildly disappointing was only one, but not as disappointing as our sponsor. Can you feel that holiday magic in the air, ladies and gentlemen? People running around to gather gifts, but do they know the gift that keeps on giving? That's today's sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends. They even have awesome holiday-themed characters such as Sir Nicholas. Besides this guy laying presents under your tree, he's gonna be laying fat damage with his crazy skill multipliers. Or if you're looking to kick some ice, what about the Whirling Frost King? And this holiday season, Raid's got some special presents for you, such as the Cursed City Update. It's one of the biggest features since the Doom Tower, with 100 stages to complete, including stages where you'll need to take down 2 of Raid's bosses at a time. There's a Christmas story event where you'll follow Sir Nicholas through a variety of mini-games to solve, to win both in-game and real-life prizes, ranging from epic and legendary champions to even Amazon gift cards. And all you need to do is join the event at raidxmas.com. And make sure you use my link or scan my QR code to get these amazing prizes. And all this treasure will be waiting for you right up here. So I got a list of 10 things on my list that I hope to see in some capacity going into the new year of 2024. We're going to start off with our Death Star topic, but I think there's a bit more optimism with the chance of a Death Star raid happening. At the core of Star Wars, the Death Star raid is one of the things that made Star Wars so popular, and I've been bringing this up every single year. I've seen you guys echo the same thing. How cool would it be if we had some sort of globalized raid where the entire community bands together to take down the Death Star and blow it up? I mean, come on. It'd be a combination of your ground units, a combination of ships attacking the Death Star, and then the final wave could be, you know, trying to blow up the core of the Death Star. It's something that I know a lot of us would like to see. I mean, at the most, we're really only going to see the Death Star through things like galactic challenges, you know, but it's not like the Death Star experience we're hoping to see. Well, there might be a glimmer of hope that this could happen, you know, coming into the new year. The one thing that came to fruition on my list for 2023 was we saw the introduction of raids coming back. Now, I know the raids have been, you know, somewhat debatable between the Crate Dragon raid and the Speeder Bike Pursuit raid, more particularly because it's not quite like the AAT raid, the Rancor raid of the old days, or the Sith Tremor raid, which were raids that people, I feel like, more or less enjoyed quite a lot. The newer raids, you know, I enjoyed the Crate Dragon raid. I would give it a B, B minus. The Endor raid, probably more like a D, something like that. But the fact of the matter is, raids are back. They're coming into a frequent schedule, and I feel like the reward system has been more or less very positive. Yes, there's been a couple nuances where you might be losing out, but overall, I feel a massive relief when it comes to the Gear 12 grind, very specifically, and helps out with some higher relic stuff as well. And on top of that, I think we all can agree, unlike the Challenge Rancor raid, everyone can participate in these new raids. That's kind of a big deal. So that right there, I want to say that was a success on our list. And I also got to say, I think CJ overall did okay with it. And I hope we get new raids moving forward. And maybe that could be, not Malachor, maybe that could be, not Hoth, maybe that could be, where the hell is the Death Star? It's somewhere up here. I don't know. Is that it? That was the Death Star. I clicked on Malachor before. Maybe it could be the Death Star. So, you know, I want to just keep bringing it up. It's going to be kind of a yearly tradition for this thumbnail on these types of videos every year. Who knows? 2024 might be the year. They seem to be kind of doing a 1 to 2 raid type of experience a year. Who knows? Maybe it could happen. But let's continue on to our next point of conversation, talking about Territory Wars. I want to keep this screen up for a moment. Actually, no, I want to go back over here for a second. Territory Wars. When we look at the general beats of Galaxy of Heroes, we've seen that, you know, the Grand Arena went through kind of a fundamental change in its execution. Territory battles we saw a fundamental change in its type of game mode where now it's kind of revolutionized in a way where it can continue to breathe and expand. As the game goes on, they're adding new planets. Like, for example, they added Zephyr, my personal favorite planet, in the territory battle experience. But one of the big areas that we aren't seeing, and raids, of course. But when we look at all the big pieces of content, you got your Grand Arena, you got your raid, you got the territory battles. The biggest, I guess, gap in terms of the game mode that's obviously screaming, I need some changes, has to be the territory war experience. We have not seen any fundamental change when it comes to territories. The most we've seen was they added more teams on defense. Whoop-de-doo. It's not really the change we're looking to see here. Territories, in my opinion, needs a fundamental change in the way the game mode is operated. At the minimum, the simplest way to make it better, I think would do like a territory war championship, just like a Grand Arena championship experience where guilds get pitted together and there's like just a simple bracket system. However, I want to go back inside of the territory battles real quick. I think it'd be really cool. And I brought this up last year. I'm going to bring it up again because I really like the idea. We have this map inside of territory battles, right? You know, you got all the different planets, different modifiers, yada, yada, yada. How cool would it be if we can somehow replicate what we had in the old school classic Battlefront 2 Galactic Conquest experience? I know you guys you start shivering. Oh, Conquest. Oh, no. This is when the word Conquest was one of the coolest names in the Star Wars business, my friend. The whole point of the Conquest, I hope you guys played this back then. If not, pick it up. I still play this from time to time with my family and friends. You got two opposing people playing against each other. You can create teams and stuff like that. And the goal is to capture as many planets throughout the entire galaxy. Like, wouldn't that be cool if they had a territory wars where it was kind of like this, where you want your guild to try to take over as many planets as possible, assert dominance over the galaxy? Because again, the game mode's so outdated. We're still running the same background of Jakku inside of territories, and they told us they were gonna like rotate different maps. We haven't even gotten map changes in territories. That's how outdated it is. Right now, I feel like territories is the least important game mode. Raids are more important. Territory is more important. Grand Arena is more important. Fleet Arena is more important, in my opinion. I feel like territories is one of the least important major game mode experiences that we have in Galaxy. Because yes, there are rewards, but Relic 9 is not the biggest incentive, unlike Crystals and even Relic 8 stuff. Relic 9 is a very niche luxury thing on a couple of key requirements for some things, a couple of key characters and ships. Otherwise, you can play the game without it. More people would rather focus on a game mode of Crystals than a game mode that has some Relic 9s and a couple of Data Crown materials. But that's just my take on the matter, but I feel like a lot of people do vibe with that. Not to say Territory Wars no fans. I know there are a lot of fans of Territories. My guild, they care more about Territory Wars than Grand Arena. So that people do like it, but I feel like it's not most people. So I'm hoping there might be some sort of change when it comes to the Territory War experience. A lot of ways to go about it. I've heard murmurs and rumors over the year that something's in the works. There's discussion. I never really talked about it, reported them, because it's kind of hard to gauge if they're real or not. And as we've seen, I haven't really seen anything come to fruition. Maybe 2024 is when that's going to happen. Again, we've seen every year they've tackled something. One year it was Grand Arena. Next year it was the Territorials. The next year, this year, was the raids. There's an oddball, and that's Territory Wars. So who knows? I feel pretty confident maybe something Territory related will happen. Coming back over to the game, let's keep us moving along. Number 3 on my list is going to be talking about shift. Overall, I feel like the gear economy grind is in a pretty good place. If for a game like this that's free to play, they need to, try to put you in some pinch points, grind points, to make you feel like you have to spend money. I feel like it's overall in a pretty good place. Much better than it ever has been, period. Things, people don't realize that are coming to the game. Carbonti, stun guns, those are pretty much not obsolete, but pretty much a non-issue as of 2022. And then 2023, I feel like the Gear 12 grind became a lot more manageable with the introduction of the raid, where I feel like I'm on pace for like one Gear 13 character. Going from Gear 12 to Gear 13 feels like it takes roughly, 1 to 2 weeks, something like that per character, which before it was a lot longer. So I feel like we're in a pretty good spot when it comes to the character gear acceleration. And we've also seen the Lightspeed bundles. Do you guys know what the Lightspeed bundles are? Do you want a Lightspeed bundle? Yeah, okay. I don't need to bring that up. Lightspeed bundles honestly were the biggest thing to happen in this game that we've seen. But I feel like ship. We always bring this up. The ship grind is absolutely horrific in several aspects. The first thing I want to bring up in this point, I really feel like there should be some sort of double drop thing for older ships, just like we have accelerated drops for older characters that are at least a year old. Ships has nothing of that matter. Pretty much every single ship is on like a hard node. Ooh. It is so unbearable. I am going to play devil's advocate for a moment. I think the reason why we don't see any sort of accelerated drops is because ships comes a lot less frequently, new units that is, than characters. So why should they accelerate it? So maybe they got to accelerate ships that are maybe 2 years plus older. Maybe not a year plus older. Just like simple bare bone things like building a finalizer, a resistance fleet, a rebel fleet feels like it takes a lot longer than it should. So double dropping or accelerating older ship shards would be great, or maybe trying to migrate some of them outside of the hard node experience could go a long way potentially. Ships are a very important aspect of the game, and it's just it's very unfun when people gotta come and they get the Lightspeed bundles and they're trying to get their ships. Like, holy cow, why is this taking forever? And again, that's one of the biggest turnoffs for this game for players coming in. They don't want to farm an Anakin ship for 6, 7, 8 months, whatever it might be. So ship double drops. I'm not sure how confident I am that this is going to happen. I kind of see when I play devil's advocate why they don't want to do it, but I would love to see it nonetheless. Sticking on ships for a moment, let's get to our next point of contention here. Ships part 2, I guess. So number 4 on the list. There should be no reason at all. I mean, it makes good fertile soil for people buying Lightspeed bundles. There should be no reason at all that things like the finalizer, things like the Radis Holdo ship takes multi-years to get free to play. This isn't an Executor or a Profundity or a Leviathan where you can maybe convince me it should take you years to get a 7-star. You can maybe convince. I still feel like that's absurd. But for things like a finalizer, things like Radis at the minimum, these should be permanently available inside of the journey guide for people to just get the 7 stars right away. It took me on my free-to-play account here, it took me like 2.5 years or something like that from the start of my account to getting a 7-star finalizer. And this is when we beeline for Supreme Leader Kyle Rentz. This is something high in our agenda that we got. It takes so long to get these ships up and running. The events are so infrequent. Oh gosh, if you accidentally missed it, well, screw you. I guess you're missing out on a month. I think these should be available permanently in the journey guide. Older capsules, even like Executrix and Endurance and Home One. These are old school capital ships. They should just be in the journey guide. You just get them right away. They're so important for a couple things, and it's a bad feeling when you got to get a mediocre fleet to 7 stars in a couple years. No, that needs to be changed as well. Okay. Number 5, we're touching on a couple things. We're touching on content. We're touching on economy changes. We're still on this economy change here. This one might be a tough part. I know a lot of you guys would agree with it. I know some that would not agree with it because they like that they have this exclusivity. You know, that's one of the things about this game. Sometimes we have these ulterior motives where we don't want people to get stuff, right? I want it all to myself. Hey, you didn't play since 2015. I'm definitely in a different camp than that, but I want to talk about Proving Grounds, Conquest characters. Now, of course, I can sing to the masses, oh, Conquest trash, sucks, boring. We know that. However, the changes are so simple, and we know Siege is hearing the feedback, and they're going against everything that we're asking for when it comes to those things. So I don't know if I could really, like, I feel like all these things I'm presenting are like reasonable things that are kind of interesting, new, and whatever. But Conquest, we know they're purposely making it grindy and all that stuff for their benefit. And even though our demands are simple to make Conquest better, can we just have like the original release of Conquest? It wasn't as grindy. I was able to do Conquest like in one day, but again, we know why they do it, so I'm not even gonna bother putting Conquest feedback. But just know I was thinking about doing it. Just I've lost hope, I suppose. I want to talk about the characters that we ultimately get. Maul, Commander Tano. The list goes on and on. Conquest has been around for what, about coming up 2 years or something like that. Coming here shortly, or is it 3 years? Has it been 3 years? Has Conquest been around for 3 years? Oh my gosh. I don't want to like think it's been around that long, but I think it might be almost 3 years when Conquest came around because Razor Crest was our first unit that we had. But what I want to bring out, getting these older Conquest or maybe Proving Grounds characters is more of the preferred term to use for these guys. It feels like, again, it takes so long to get him. This kind of ties into Conquest. They're like, hey, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. You want to buy that $30 pass every single Conquest cycle for another Proving Grounds rotation for you? So obviously they're monetizing the demand for these amazing characters that come out of Conquest. Most Conquest characters are at least good to amazing, and with a few outliers that are you could totally skip out on. But overall, it would be nice for older units like Maul, Commander Tano, Razor Crest, that they would accelerate the drops. Can we get 20 shards of Maul and Commander Tano per Proving Ground cycle? Again, I know this all sounds nice. Again, they have people that look at spreadsheets and they know we're the pinch people, we're the grind people's gears and all that. And this is definitely one of those, just like the ships out there. I would love to see something at the minimum. I'm not asking for like, you know, characters within the past 1-2 years, but at least like, you know, characters that are 2+ years old, maybe somehow accelerate them so they're a little bit easier to get. You know, I don't know. It might be, I don't know how confident I feel that Siege will do that, but I would say it would feel good. It would feel good if these were a little bit easier to farm. Granted, they did add, for example, you know, a lot of the shards to the legend token, so they're adding more ways of getting it, but it's not like, you know, this maybe saves you a month to get them all, potentially. I can't remember how the math works out, but if you keep pulling stuff out of here, you might be able to get them all a month earlier, which, again, it's a month earlier, but man, when it's like a multi-year grind, it doesn't feel good is all I'm trying to say. So I think this would be a great way of making people excited for Conquest characters they missed out. All right, well, you know, you still got to wait a bit of time, but maybe not as much as it currently is. Anyways, I can keep going on and on and on and on and on about this. Okay. I think this might be our last touch up that we're gonna focus on in terms of economy, you know, grindiness. I got a little bit of hope this year. When we were talking about, for example, the hard nodes and, you know, boy, could they make ships a little bit easier to farm? Maybe they don't have to do the double drops, like accelerated drops. But, you know, I got a little hope earlier this year. You know, they moved some stuff around. Maybe I'm misremembering. Maybe I'm having a boomer moment here, but they moved some stuff around. And for example, they moved Wedge into Galactic War, and this got me kind of excited. We've been asking for a long time. Hey, can we utilize the Squad Arena, the Galactic War, and stuff like that? And Capital Games, you know, they flat out said at one point in time, no, it's never going to happen. So I think it'd be a great opportunity if they maybe shuffled around some older units, like maybe, you know, Wedge. And I mean, Wedge wasn't really hard to get in the first place, but it would be nice if maybe they shuffled some older units. You know, how amazing would it be if Boss was like in the Squad Arena store? I mean, come on, like things like that. Boy, would that go a long way for people getting excited about farming some stuff. So again, I'm not asking for characters from the past year to 2 years, but characters 3, 4, 5+ years old. Let's take advantage of these other shipments. Make them a bit more accessible to farm, and then they can put their newer stuff on the nodes throughout the hard nodes. I feel like there's like another avenue, because right now, release a marquee, it's pay to win for 3 months, then it gets released free to play, and then for about a year, it's a single drop farm, and then it's a double drop farm. I feel like there can be one more step after the double drop farm. Maybe a year after or something, it moves to an accessible shipment location. So you see what I'm getting at? There's this layered cake with the release of new characters. I feel like there's one more layer to the cake that we could possibly add here. All right, we're going to talk about characters, but not in an economy sense. I said this last year. I would love to see. I think the Journey Guide is a really cool function that they brought the Galaxy through a couple years ago. It kind of organizes things a little bit better, helps people, you know, be able to guide themselves, because there's this audience out there that doesn't know there's a Reddit, YouTube, Discord, forums. They just play the game and they're just on their own island. They have no idea there's this larger community that we have out here, and they're just kind of going about their own way. So, you know, we don't need to talk about how the Journey Guide is. It's a nice way of organizing it for new players without them having to go to third-party resources. I want there to be just one more folder. We're so close to this being perfect. A folder for old marquee events. If you missed them, it sucks. I mean, a lot of us here, we get all these free 3-star characters when marquees come out. It's not like game-changing, but it saves you time, and there's resources associated with them and old portraits. All I want, I'm going to keep this plain and simple. Give me a folder so people can go back, play those old marquee events. Like the Django event was really cool. Remember when the Bad Batch had some really cool events? It would be cool if people would play those, and a lot of them had great rewards. Like Django had amazing rewards, but if you weren't playing the game, well, I guess screw you is what the mentality is from Capital Games over there. So one more folder, give us the old marquee events. That's all I would like to see. We're kind of seeing that to a degree. Like they brought back, you know, the Leia events requirements. They brought back, for example, Mandalorian requirements at one point to kind of celebrate Mandalorian season 3 and all that. Can we have that just in a more permanent sense? You know, I think, again, that would go a long way, and it's a nice way, again, keeping new players caught up and not feeling like they missed out on big things. I think that'd be great. Man, imagine how much, that's literally hours of marquee characters for a new player to come and they want stuff to do. Boom. You got marquee events to play. I think that'd be awesome. Okay. We got some cool stuff at the end I wanted to save for you guys. Oh, let's talk about vehicles and a couple of things like playing with your friends. Wow, isn't that crazy? You want to play? Do you want to play with your friends? Capital Games apparently thinks none of us have friends. I want to give a shout out to this person right here, Cowan. I might be completely butchering Cowan. I don't know. Or it might be Colin down here. One of the two. Anyways, this is an old post from a couple years ago. Developers at Capital Games, I got to remind people about this. It's been a minute. Back in September 5th, 2019, we had our first confirmation that there was a new game mode for vehicles like ships, but land vehicles like the ATST, AT-AT, etc. And they flat out said yes, it was in development, it was in the plans, it was going to happen. However, then about 2021 is when they said, I believe it was in like a podcast interview, the community manager said it got put on the back burner. So this isn't like official artwork, but it looks pretty good for a mock-up from someone in the community. I think this is a pretty cool mock-up to show what it would look like. Now, of course, Ships has its ups and downs, but overall, I think this is a big opportunity. If Capital Games like, oh, we're running out of stuff to do, they can pull out the vehicles card, and there is so much that they can do. I mean, here, this was Java before Java was even brought into the game, and they're already seeing the sail bar in Java, but this right here, I think it'd be really cool and brings another layer to the table that for people to play with and kind of have that like galactic conquest assault that I brought for Battlefront 2. Imagine if you had your air fighting, you had your ground vehicles, and you had the actual units. Oh, I think it would be very fun indeed. Again, assuming it's executed properly. The release of Ships was pretty blah, and I feel like people are still like, they're pretty, you know, they know it's important, but the characters comes first. Again, I think it'd be great to see. Again, this was something that was in development, and for whatever reason, they put it on the back burner, but it could totally happen. I mean, when I actually read through this, there's actually a lot of interesting things that we have here. Like, for example, they're asking what is coming after Lightside Geonosis, and that was, you know, the new territory battles that we have here. So when I kind of go through this, it kind of it makes a lot of sense in hindsight. A lot of stuff they were kind of like talking about, it finally did come to fruition. Like, there was a comment in here about, oh my gosh, let me bring it up here. Oh gosh, it was about Squad Arena. Let me see if I can find it. Squad Arena, where they said basically they weren't too sure about, yeah, here we go. They weren't too sure at the time. It's funny how things work, but someone was asking, are they pushing Grand Arena to be the primary game mode over Squad and Fleet Arena? And it's funny, back then, the concerns that we had, they had as well. We have had a lot of discussion about moving crystals from Arena to Grand Arena. Since Grand Arena is uncharted and not always running, it is difficult for us to ensure that the same amount of crystals are being earned daily by the same number of players, so mathing that part out has been difficult. So back then they were kind of opposed, and they ultimately did it a couple years later. But I want to go to this part that we had here, where people could play with their friends. Oh, this one always bothers me, man. I get what they're coming from. I get the position that they're in. They've been entrenched in this position. Why can't you play against your friends in PvP without reward? The long story short of it is Capital Games, they're focused on making game modes and features where when you play it, the outcome feeds back into your collection. A core loop is what they're basically saying. And the problem is, again, playing devil's advocate, playing with your friends, they don't know how they can make a core loop out of that, you know, right now. So you play against your friends, what's the outcome? There's no rewards except, I guess, the friends you make along the way and the fun you had playing it. That's not a part of the core loop. There needs to be a money aspect somewhere, something to encourage you to and grow your roster to play a particular game mode like Territorials, Raids. You know, you want to grow your roster, get better to raid, you get better rewards, right? There's a core loop associated that they talk about in the gaming industry. So it really bothers me we don't have a way to play with their friends. This is the number 9 on my list here. It's just some easy way to play. I mean, it really sucks that, you know, if you want to hang out with your friends, like I had my brother, he picked up the game because of Lightspeed bundles again. It would be great to play with him, even in, you know, in just a fun capacity, or just play with other friends to test stuff out, just have a good time, you know. Unfortunately, I don't know if that's ever going to happen. CGS has been very opposed to that over the years, and it seems like this could be the core reason. But number 10 of the list kind of funnels into this a little bit, but it still kind of faces the same problem where it goes against a core loop experience. When there's no Territory Wars Grand Arena going on, it would be great at the minimum. At the minimum. I mean, Grand Arena, I feel like, is the game mode that has kept Galaxy of Heroes alive. Like, I don't know how well loved this game would be without Grand Arena. I feel like they accidentally stumbled into a very successful game mode, and they're not really adopting it and enjoying it nearly as much. During these Grand Arena off seasons, I would love, at the minimum, to be able to just, you know, play with my own roster, play with friends. Again, it's off season, you know, we're practicing, we're testing on new stuff. Like, I got Bo-Katan Mandalore, right? I can't do anything with her. There's no Territory Wars, there's no Grand Arena. We've seen this in other similar games where, you know, you can where guilds, like in Marvel Strike Force, they have a sandbox, like off-season Territory Wars where the guild can practice against each other, play out with their new stuff, come up with new strategies. And, you know, I really feel like they're missing a big opportunity here. It's not, we're not asking for anything crazy like a permanent friend versus friend thing, but at least an inner guild sandbox mode for off-season territory wars, or maybe a way to play off-season Grand Arena for the community to host their own tournaments, play with their friends. And it's not like they really have to do much. It's the game mode's already there. It's just something to do for 7+ days until the next Grand Arena comes around, or the next territory wars. But I don't know. They've been really against that stuff. I don't know why. Again, we're not asking for a full, like, developed game mode. Like, I think Marvel Strike Force did, like, a real-time PvP, and that was kind of, a bit debatable if people enjoyed that over the Strike Force community. But at the minimum, off-season territories, Grand Arena, let us play with the stuff we got. Let us theory craft, and at the minimum, have fun with our friends. The friends you make along the way are some of the most important parts of gaming that I feel like we often forget. It's always about the money, the grind. But really, we're playing games to have fun, and one big element of that is playing it with the people, especially the amazing people in this Star Wars community. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me for another year in 2023. I hope you nothing for the best in 2024. Hopefully, whatever you got set out, you're going to absolutely dominate it. In the meantime, leave that like, comment down below, subscribe so you're not missing a thing, and always remember, it's great to be in the Empire today. The sun never sets.